Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, some of you may have noted recently I just had a birthday and you can see instantly I've aged about 10 years. It feels like it, it looks that way, it doesn't look so good. I think I'm going, when I compare these two videos, I'm going to wonder just what the time gap was. It was only about 8 days in fact, but you wouldn't believe it, would you? Anyway, over that birthday weekend, you will recall that we had my update to the How Stupid Is Your Model Stash video. And we had the episode 2, The Reckoning, where it turns out I've got nearly 10 grand in models in my stash. And there's people out there who've responded since watching the video who've got a lot more. Oh my god, I can't believe some of the things I've been reading. But anyway, I still don't think we've topped the 6,800 guy yet, but I won't be surprised if it doesn't happen. Anyway, in that video, quite apart from chastising everybody, including myself, because I haven't done very well in this area, having had my stash go up by 50% in value, which was not intended and a bit stupid really. However, one thing that I did mention was about trying to avoid going out, rushing out and buying the latest things. Now, one latest thing that did come out was this kit, the Great Wall Hobby A-10C Thunderbolt Warthog Close Air Support Attack Aircraft. Now, this came out end of July, beginning of August, and I literally was going to have this. I actually ordered it along with I had the Tiger on order, the Tiger tank, and I had the Qatari Spitfire Brian Lane, and I ended up taking this out of the basket because it just felt like perhaps it was just too much really. The bill was getting too big, and I backed away from it. And I wasn't sure if I was going to build it or not, you know. But since in that intervening month or so, 6 weeks, I kind of regretted it because, and this is why I mentioned it more than once actually. If you look at the subliminal messaging in that video, it occurred in my thoughts at least twice. And I think the reason is that I haven't watched a lot of other video reviews. I did see a bit of Phil Flory's. I think that's the only one I've seen. I didn't watch it all the way through. I only saw about 10 minutes of it. I did see the bit where he was showing the design of the lower fuselage and the wing all being in one piece, which is quite unique and very clever. And I thought, yeah, that's a nice kit. I kind of wish I got it now, you know. Anyway, I thought I'll leave it because I've got all these other things to do and I've got my model to get on with the Mosquito. Anyway, the point of the story is, lo and behold, a relative of mine very kindly purchased this for my birthday present. And boy, did he choose well. Because it's the one thing I was thinking, oh, at the end of the year when we come to do models of the year, I'm not saying it's going to win it at all, but I certainly think it would have been in the top 10. I was pretty confident. I thought that could have been a top 10 contender. Perhaps I should have got it, you know. So anyway, that problem is now raised. Not only did my relative very kindly and very boldly and riskily, because I must be, you know, he purchased this for someone who is constantly getting new kits, and almost, I can well imagine that in the past, I'm sure that he may have purchased things for Christmas or whatever, and then I've suddenly popped up and done a review on it. It must be so frustrating. I'm surprised he didn't just buy me a book or something. But it must be, it's very risky, it's very hard I'm a very hard person to buy kits for, I think. It's very, very hard to know what I'm not going to get. And I think he must have waited and then seen that I didn't come up with this and thought, right, he's not doing that one. Now, of course, previously I've done the reviews of the Hobby Boss version, and also last year we had the spring, April, we had the Academy, the new A-10C came out as well. So, I have got some history with at least doing reviews, though I haven't actually built one yet, one of these A-10s. I have to say that I thought the Academy was superior to the Hobby Boss, but they're both very good value for money. This is a lot more expensive than, in fact, this costs as much as those two kits put together, would you believe? So it's bound to be good, I'm sure. Without further ado, let's why don't we just crack on with it, eh? And have a good look. So, I've been primed on a couple of things from the person who bought it for me, so I'm hopefully not going to fall into a couple of traps that I think may be waiting in the box. Anyway, so it's kit number L4829. It's 48 scale, of course. On the side, I'll zoom you in for this so you can have a good close look. We have got here, oops, there we go, a really nice depiction on this side, and this is the 163rd Fighter Squadron, 122nd Fighter Wing in Afghanistan in 2018, and it's the Black Snakes, based at Fort Wayne. We have got here, just looking if it tells you how many parts there are. No, it doesn't. There's quite a lot though, I'm sure. Great Wall Hobby tends to be very part heavy. On the other side, we've got the 4 markings clearly shown, and we've got the 184th Fighter Squadron, 188th Fighter Wing at Fort Smith in the USA, Arkansas. We've got the 354th, the one we just alluded to, I think. Is it? No, it's a different one. 355th Fighter Wing at Davis, Montana Air Force Base, up in the hills. We've got the 74th Fighter Squadron, the Flying Tigers, the 23rd Fighter Wing at Langley Air Force Base, near the headquarters of the CIA, just up the road. And then we've got the 25th Fighter Squadron and 51st Fighter Wing at Osan. And this is the one that's got like the Mustang on the tail. On Osan, I think I'm right in saying it's in South Korea, I believe. Okay, so let's just zoom you back and let's take a look at what we've got in the box. Now, one thing I have done before coming on and starting filming is I realised I actually started filming already. This is the 3rd time actually I've got this far, because I realised that they've gone and done a Tamiya on this, and every bag has got staples on it. I hate that, and they're so fiddly to get them off without ripping everything. So I have removed the staples from the bags to speed things up a bit. So shouldn't be a problem there. At least on the plus side they only had 1 staple per bag, not like Tamiya who have at least 2. I've got some lovely aftermarket which came as part of the gift, which I shall come to in a second. So let's get the plastic out and I'll move the box because it is a bit of a hefty thing. We've also got here a little box at the side, which I'm just going to see if I can. I don't really want to remove it particularly. I think, if I remember correctly, that's the weight. Yes, it's the nose weight, so I'll just put that on one side. We'll get all these bags out. I'll start with the instructions. Great Wall Hobby instructions. Now, remember, it's a gift, but that doesn't mean I won't be objective in what I say about it. I will judge it just as a kit, irrespective of how I obtained it, just like I do with anything else really, ICM or whatever. Because that's important. People, we can't give favouritism to a product just because you pay for it. That wouldn't tell you anything really. And I am known for that. Oh, now I'll tell you what we have got in here. We've got a lovely. Oh, we've got an artwork and we've got colour call-outs. Is that the same thing? No, it's separate. So we've got like a print. Look at this. Lovely print. Let's zoom in a bit. Nice print. Same as on the front cover, so I'll put that. It's not the best printed actually, where the lettering is. It's not quite as good as it is on the front. Seems to have lost a bit of its sharpness. And then we've got the colour call-outs, which we'll come to in a second. Right, so we'll start with the paperwork, I think. And then goes over there. So much plastic, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, and I have missed a staple there as well. So while I've got you, before I bore you, I'm going to just remove that very quickly. It says this is the problem, you can't do it quickly. Little devil, just escaped my eye. So we have got. Right, now then, interesting thing I'm going to come to straight away. So we'll start with this, zoom in a bit more and we'll get cracking. So we've got the call outs for the 4 different variants. Now I want to draw your attention to the way that they've portrayed the underside of the aircraft. Something a little bit unusual here. Can you see this great big sort of oval shape? Now I know a lot of people have said that this is probably just a sign of the carbon from the gun, the vent port of the gun at the back of the gun, the GAU-8. What do they call it? It's got a nickname, hasn't it? Let me just check something for you. Wait 1 second. Yeah, they call it the Avenger, the GAU-8 Avenger electric cannon, which is here obviously. However, this is not actually what you think it is, because when you look, it's on all the different versions, this rather strange like plume behind it. And everybody thinks, including Great Wall Hobby, it seems to me, Great Wall Hobby have portrayed that in such a way as to make it look like they think it's the plume from the gun. Actually, it's not. It's not that at all. What it actually is, and I've seen the research, so I know this is correct. It's actually painted on there, and the idea is to confuse the potential enemy on the ground about the orientation of the aircraft. Because from a distance, it looks like the canopy. So from a distance, when it's at that angle, it looks like it's banking and coming up towards you, and that is the top side of the aircraft. Yeah? Whereas in fact, the top side is on the other side. So it's really painted on that. I've seen some actual photos, and it's done better than the way that Great Wall Hobby have represented it. So I'm not entirely convinced about the way that they've shown that as being accurate. It's actually done in a much neater way. That does make it look like carbon from the gun plume, you know, from the bits of cordite basically from the gun firing. But it's not. It's actually a deliberate thing. I've seen them photographs of it clean, with the aircraft clean, and when it's not so clean. And it's really there to confuse you, but it's to confuse the orientation of the aircraft, so it makes you think that that's the top from a distance. And it isn't, of course, it's the bottom. Quite clever. So for those, and I must say to you, apart from, I don't know if Phil Flurry covered this, I can't remember because I didn't see that part of the review. And I haven't seen any of the reviews, so I understand that one or two people have got confused by this, but I can see why they'd get a little bit confused, because it's not made terribly clear, and I don't think Great Wall Hobby have done it in such a non-symmetrical manner, and the photographs I saw, it was much more symmetrical, so please be aware of that. If you do some research on it, you'll see some of the pictures I've seen probably. Anyway, we've got the four versions there, which are pretty similar, aren't they? And they've done a nice job of actually portraying them. Not a whole lot to see though. In terms of scheme, we've got the two-tone grey. Is it ghost grey, and it's like a light sea grey or thereabouts. We'll come to that in a second. Right, we've got that one out of the way. Now, let's have a look at the instructions. Now, bear in mind we're talking Great Wall Hobby here. And they don't staple their instructions, so if I let them, they're just going to flop out all over the place. Which always kind of annoys me. I don't know why they can't just make a little bit more effort in this area and make it, you know, so it's a bound or stapled. They're handy with the staples everywhere else, aren't they? Right, let's have a look at it. I'll zoom you in. No doubt we're not going to get any sort of history, because that's also their normal modus operandi. I hope they prove me wrong. No, they're not going to prove me wrong. Right, so the first one is the sprue mat. I'll have to come back a little bit for this. Sprue mat, which is all the parts, all the different sprues, special weight, decals, etc., etc. Do not use shadow parts. Do not use shadow parts. Don't think there's any shadow parts shown, so I don't think that's really a problem. Was I missing something? No. Don't think so. You've got nose weight, which looks quite good. I mean, it does look, the concept of it actually looks quite clever. So, yeah, the different greys. They don't give them names, unfortunately. This is the Mr. Colour nomenclature they're using. But anyway, let's get straight into looking at the actual instructions then. So, first of all, we're building up the ejection seat for the pilot. Don't forget, this is like a flying tank, this aircraft. Ground attack aircraft. The pilot is surrounded by a titanium tub of armour plate. I mean, this aircraft has very high survivability rankings when it's hit by gunfire and things like that. There was a famous situation where there was a lady pilot over Iraq, 2003 I think it was, and the back end of a A-10 was shot to bits. There's bits of the rudders are hanging off, and there's great big holes all over at the rear of the engines and all around the nacelles, and terrible damage. And she still got it back, you know. She decided not to eject over Baghdad and brought it home to the base, which I think was in Doha. I'm not sure. Anyway, so building up our ejector seat and building up looks quite decent, doesn't it? Fair bit of detail here. Just bring it a bit closer. There we go. You've got the canopy smash claws, you might call them, that punch through the canopy. You've got your main stick control here, all your electronic instrument panel. I think is it hand and throttle? Is it HOTAS system on this? Can't remember, but it's obviously the C version, so it's one of the later versions that's been used quite recently. Then we're going to build up all the area around the front, around the rear of the, behind the ejector seat, and the mounting for it in the tub, in the cockpit, bringing the cockpit sides in together as well. Then we've got the coaming, I think it is, yeah, the coaming and the gun sight arrangement at the front of the, in the windscreen, basically. And I think it's got laser designators and targeting equipment there. I'm not a great expert on the actual equipment that's on the A-10, so I won't pretend I am. Then we're going to do our nose gear bay, building that up, 2 walls and a roof. Then we're going to bring all that together along with the actual cockpit tub itself, putting it into the fuselage. And then we've got one of the first interesting points on the model actually, which is this this insert on the spine, a bit like we saw with the TACOM Apache helicopter, where you've got inserts to avoid getting a seam where you actually join the 2 halves together. And what they've done is they've chosen a natural panel line that runs along the actual length of the fuselage on top there to make that the join point. So a really good idea to avoid any horrible nasty seams. So that's the first thing I'm quite impressed by. Then we've got our various clasps for the internal the windscreen, and obviously they lock onto the main canopy hood that comes down. And we've got a couple of sensors that are going in the nose, probably targeting sensors and or sensors to detect any incoming missiles. And we've got another one of these drop-in sections that goes behind the canopy area and the cockpit, which is again going to avoid, uses the natural panel line, so that means you should avoid a nasty seam there as well. So it's looking good so far. Then we've got our GAU-8 Avenger electric cannon, which of course is what the aircraft is really known for. Makes that brrrr sound when it fires. Now this is the part that I have got, thankfully due to the generous gift I received. We'll come to it later, but I've got a replacement for that. Now we get to one of the most interesting features of the kit, which is this, the lower fuselage and lower wing assembly, all in one piece like a great big cross. Again, avoiding horrible joints, horrible wing joints, horrible seams. You then bring in your top wing, and then you've got your flaps to put on, and you've got obviously the nacelles on the wing on the A-10 purely carry the undercarriage main gear. So you're bringing in those landing flaps. Then you've got these nacelles for the undercarriage that comes in here, bringing that together complete with like a vent, cooling, I think it's an intake actually at the back. Bringing those down and attaching them to the lower wing. And then we've got the wingtips, and they have these lovely down scalloped wingtips, don't they? Like a bird's wing almost. Very clever design. One of the things that enables it to fly at quite low speed, of course. Make fairly slow turns without stalling. And then we've got the aero caps that go on the rear of the gear nacelles. It's so unusual to your mind, isn't it? You expect this to have engines in it, but they are just for the gear. Then we're going to get into the interesting parts now, where I think that Great Wall Hobby are probably going to have a bit of a lead over the competition that we've talked about, and this is these compressor vanes for the actual engine itself, the intakes. And everybody tells me they're very nice, so we'll be having a keen look at those in a minute. Then we've got to build up the centre and rear of the engine. Then you're going to have the engine itself is going to have its armour plating cowls put round it, of course, and this is again, it's got titanium, I think, plating on the inside to stop any ammunition strikes against the engines. And then you've got your intake ring and the exit ring at the back. No afterburner on this aircraft, of course, just a straight turbofan. It's intended, it looks quite stealthy. It's not intended to be stealthy, it's really the idea is to avoid heat-seeking missiles easily getting a lock on it. So you're doing the other side of the opposite engine there. Then we're going to bring these two together, and again, very nice looking the way they've done it. Now, if you remember on the Academy kit, they went a different route to this. They had the two engines in one great big piece that sort of dropped in. So Great Wall Hobby decided to go a slightly more conventional route on this part of it. We've got them going on separately. Then we've got our huge nose weight, which is going to go in right at the front of the fuselage underneath there before you bring the top fuselage down. Then we have got, I think it's the gear doors. See, again, you know, don't sound critical too much, but there's no writing here to tell you anything. It just tell you the weight. That's good, I suppose. But there's no descriptive writing telling you what you're actually building up. So it's the gear, isn't it? It's the gear doors. So you're now going to, first of all, do the, is that the front gear? Yeah, that's the front gear, I think. Nose gear. Complete with light, etc. Tyres and wheels going on there. Then it's the main gear here. Main gear on both sides, of course. Complete with all the actuator arms. And then you're going to put your wheels and tyres on ultimately on the main gear. And then we're going to put them all into position and locate them where they belong in the nacelles. And the front one, of course, goes in its little gear bay well, complete with the door. Then we have got the, so this is the nose gear. It's quite confusing because it's jumping around a bit and it's not telling you which is which. So that's the nose gear, in fact. And then we've got the main gear, wheels and the covers, doors going on there. Completely actuators. And if you have, it says canopy closed. Oh, canopy closed. They mean wheels retracted. Canopy closed. What the? Canopy open, canopy closed. What's that got to do with the wheels? Come on. Ah, dear. Now then, you can see that they've got, like, the wheels look a little bit chopped off looking here. And we're going to, this is another of these areas where I need to draw your attention on this bit. Here. And it's like a weight on wheels effect. Well, I'm reliably informed by someone who knows that that's not what this is at all. But this has caused great confusion again because of the lack of descriptive data. Canopy closed is not helping because that's ridiculous and very misleading. These sort of chopped off wheels are not actually grossly exaggerated weight on wheels at all. Let's put my other light on. There we go. That's better. What they are, in fact, is they're just because they're going to be not seen, and you'll only see the bottom of the tyres. They've chopped them just to make it fit better into the actual recess of the main gear bay. I think that needed explaining, and I think that I know one or two people have got into trouble over this. A few reviewers have seen it, and I can see why. You'd look at that and think, well, that seems very odd. It doesn't look quite realistic. It's compressed too much. That tyre's got too much missing. And I'm glad it was explained to me because I think I'd have got into trouble over this as well and probably got confused by it too. So if they just bothered to write something and explained it, a little sidebar, that wouldn't be a problem with it. Anyway, moving on. So we'll watch out for that when we look at the parts, because obviously there's one going to be looking a little bit strange as a result of it. So here we've got those, what they look like when they go in, and again you can see that effect, can't you, how chopped off it looks. So I say it's not weight on wheels. It is just to make it fit better into the bay if you're having it retracted. Which is, yeah, as I say, it needed proper explanation, but it hasn't happened. Then we've got our landing slats, I should say, at the front, which go right inboard here. I am right, aren't I? Yes, right inboard of the wing. And those are very impressive looking slats. And then we've got the sensor array that goes, in this case, it's going on the tail. This is a whole nother load of sensors. Much more. I think there's basically an anti-SAM detector sensor array. And that's what a lot of this is about. So yeah, one will be infrared and one will be radar, and one will be a sort of a Doppler system in the tail cone. Then it looks like we have got our, what's that? Again, it doesn't describe anything. This is why I get so infuriated with the Chinese. it's not easily recognisable exactly what that is. Is it a flap, or is it to do with the actuation system? Or is that actually open state, closed state? Is that the air brakes? Not helpful, is it? We don't know what we're really looking at. Here I think we've got some flaps on the wing, complete with actuators. Ah, right, okay, so again, now later it becomes obvious, but that's not helpful. You're going to flick forward. So it's actually the actuator system in the wing for the ailerons. That's what it is. That rather strange assembly is here, and my thumb is. And then you've got the ailerons themselves. They've got these split ailerons on the A-10, which acts like an air brake, of course. Very nicely done. Now, just not very nicely explained, as usual. Anyway, then we've got these actuators, and you repeat the whole process then on the other side. So these are basically the split aileron stroke air brakes that you get on the A-10. Then we've got our vertical stabilisers and rudders, twin of course, twin boom. And you can see here, it just frustrates me, Great Wall Hobby, because the diagrams are really nice, but they just don't write anything to give you a guide and explain what you are assembling, which would save a lot of time. Anyway, so there we've got the horizontal stabilisers and elevators going on here, assembling those there. And then you're going to do the opposite side, vertical stabiliser and rudder. And then again you've got some little sensors going on here which do look nice. And then you're going to repeat that whole process with the horizontal stabiliser and the elevators at the back, and then they go in to the tail section like so. Then there's a few array sensors and antennas that need to go on down the front. Same at the back, underneath. We've got a pitot head going on there. We've got the slime bar lights on the side, which look like they're in PE. That could be fun. Same at the back there. And then we've got the main canopy with all its mirrors, of course, rear view mirrors at the front of the canopy. And then there is it's like a like a reinforced, I think it's armour plate basically, frame. So the pilot is sticking up as little as possible. There's no space around him where he could take a bullet shot, basically, that isn't armour plated. That's quite cool. At least it's not like the F-14B that Great Wall Hobby came up with on their design on that kit, which I didn't think was too clever with the very strange framework that you had to drop the canopy into. Nothing but trouble that was going to be. Anyway, digressing. Here's the main canopy then, and then you've got this antenna, main antenna, transmitter antenna on the back that goes just behind. And it does look nice, doesn't it? There's a lot of detail here, for sure. Then you've got your crew, extendable telescopic crew ladder that comes down, and you've got the access door which pops open here. And then we have got, again, closed state. Closed state of what though? What is that telling us? I've got no idea what that part's supposed to be. You have to keep looking ahead to understand what it is. So okay, so it's in the closed state, it's the canopy. Well, why can't they say that, you know? Anyway, excuse me. There you go. So then it's going in, as you can see, and then the door closing for the extendable ladder. If you're not having that, you're in the closed position. Then it gets a bit more simplified, where you've got basically pylons and sway braces for the weapons. And they are different sway braces, they are very specific, so you need to read what it says here. Only GWH, etc. They are very specific, not a general one. And then you've got another whole load of pylons and sway braces going in here. You've got a Maverick ground attack missile there. And the AAQ-33 pod, which is like a sniper pod, isn't it? And of course this is why it doesn't have the pave penny on the C model, because this pod replaces that basically and makes it redundant. It's more capable. Then you've got an A-10 fuel tank, twin AIM 9L Sidewinder missiles here, and electronic countermeasures pod here. And we've got the ANAQ-28 pod, which is like a lightning pod, isn't it, with a swivelling head, more like something similar to what the RAF use, I think. And then we've got an LAU-131, like basically like Zuni rockets, really, launcher pepper pot rocket set. By the way, there's also, you'll notice that there's a twin mounting for the sidewinders over there, so it can defend itself, can't it? It's got, you know, this can take on other fighters. And then we've got the GWH bomb. Now I think this is the one that people alluded to about some accuracy issues to do with the fins. And I just don't know. I'm not an expert on these weapons, so I'm not sure if it was that one, if it was the GBU-12. But there were some question marks raised about whether they were accurate, and a lot of people, places like Brit Modeler, were saying, "Oh, I'm going to go and get some, you know, aftermarket resin ones instead." But to be honest, they look okay to me. I'll see what the plastic's like. And then we've got the AN-ALQ 184, that's the electronic countermeasures pod. A jamming pod, basically. And then we've got these all shown in their correct colour callouts. Basically, different tones of grey, very typical looking sidewinder here. Reminds me of my Falkland Sea Harrier. Your Mavericks, your pods, your tanks. And then you've got the lightning type pod, and then you've got the ECM pod here, and the more sophisticated one, the ALQ-131, and then the AAQ-33. A lot of electronic warfare going on here. It's like a wild weasel almost, isn't it? And you've got the Zuni type launcher there, and it just shows you the paint guide and the stencil data, decal data for all these different pylons. And there are lots and lots of pylons here going on. Other side, same. Then, and I do like the way they've done this, they've got all the different loadout options detailed for you, which way to do it. Now, again, you're going to have to pay close attention, 007, because there's a lot of different, a huge array of different weapons that it carries, and you've got to make sure you get them in the right way around. But there are a lot of options there. I mean, that's just mind-boggling. Look at it. Incredible. That's great. Okay. Fantastic. And then we've got the main, the call-outs for the stencils, the main stencils. There, underneath, top, etc. Oh, that's the underneath, in fact. Okay, so there we go. So that's the instructions. Could have been clearer, I've got to be honest. No great surprises for me there. I just despair, you know. If Airfix were producing that instruction book, they make things very, very clear. And Tamiya do. If it was Tamiya, there'd be a lot of writing explaining things. And it would say, this is the seat, this is the actuators for the split flaps. Split ailerons, air brakes. It would all be explained. You wouldn't have to keep fishing back and forth trying to understand what is it, what am I making? I don't know where it goes. They could be a lot clearer, especially at this sort of price. You know, I mean, this kit's straying. What was it? Retail price is close to £100, full retail, and it's straying into Tamiya territory, and they need to up their game in this area. You know, we've got great plastic, got some nice design, but you can't do half the job. They've got to learn, and it's not just Great Wall Hobby. We know Kinetic are doing same problem. We know all about that one, don't we? I do. Bitter experience. Right, so let's have a look at the decals. We have got one more staple to fight, I'm afraid. Thought I'd got them all. I forgot that one. So, it just annoys me that the Chinese think they can just keep on not doing this stuff, and there's no penalty. But ultimately, the penalty would be it puts people off a little bit, you know. So we've got some nice looking decals. They're quite a matte finish to them. Have a look at this. See what you think. Yeah, we've got some really cracking. They've got the vipers, as they call themselves. The snake there. Look at that. That's nice, isn't it? Snaky with fangs. Very hard hitting. The black snakes. That's it. The black snakes. There they are. Yeah, they're quite a nice decal. There's absolutely zero excess carrier film. Nothing. Got the flying razorbacks, warthogs, look. That's cool, isn't it? Those are nice. And then you've got these very angry looking, is that supposed to be a warthog as well? Looks more like a hyena to me, this one. Some very, very nice markings though, aren't they, those? So I think they're perhaps a little bit more satin, a little bit, just a fraction more gloss might have been nice, because they do seem very flat, don't they? Here you get your Mustangs, look. And the Arkansas markings, Davis Montana markings, checkerboard here. Very nice decals actually, I've got to say, I like it. So that's the first one. Then we've got our stencil set. You've got a lot of, I've done this quite well as well, you've got a lot of like walkway instrumentation there for the main instruments. And then we've got these walkway areas, you know, non-walk. Well, they are walkways, not non-walk. So this is not no step, this is yes step this way sort of marking, telling you those are the zones in which you can walk and put your weight on the aircraft. And then there's lots of no step and ejector seat ones over here. No step, no step. You've got the slime bar lights as well over here. So I guess they go over the photo etch. Interesting. It needs a bit of paint on it as well, of course. Yes, and there they are. Talking of photo etch, here are the said pieces of slime bar lights. Interesting, isn't it? Photo etch is quite fairly thin. It's quite flexible, a bit better than Tamiya's. Well, one area where they're not that great. And then finally we've got all the weapons set, stencils for the entire weapons set, all the bombs, all the usual stuff. Very, very finely printed. Got to say, it looks extremely nice, to be honest. So far so good with that then. So, looks okay, doesn't it? Looking good so far. I think that my grumbles are going to be probably over now, I'm hoping. It's just instructions though, you know, they just keep on doing it, don't they? Making life a little bit harder than it should be, especially as you get into, say, getting into Tamiya pricing, you need to up your game. So where do we begin? Let's start with the biggest one, get it out of the way. So this is, wow, okay, the plastic's absolutely gorgeous, look at it. This is excellent. The panel lining and there's a lot of raised rivets on an A-10 of course, because it doesn't have to be, it doesn't go supersonic, so it doesn't have to have a super slippery surface. You've got rivets here you can definitely feel. Look at that. Those are very, very nice. And this is where they have cleverly designed it to be moulded in one great big section. So that's the fuselage, and now we've got the wings coming in. Right to the front of the fuselage there. I mean, it's just beautifully engraved, the way that they've crafted the actual, all the rivets and all the little access panels and panel lines. It's just stunning. Look at the way that the wing, see how it sort of scallops down. Sure I'm getting that too well right. There you go, see it there. The way the wing scallops down at the end to that little vortex sort of creating, or lift creating wingtip which falls away, helping it with its stall characteristic. And then we've got our various flaps here. The landing flaps. That is very, very nice indeed. Then we've got this thing that I couldn't make out in the head and the tail because the instructions were so vague. And this is this operating system for the split ailerons, which split and make it into a, I think this is them, isn't it? That split and become basically a air brake. And you've also got your nose cone there, that's the nose. It's quite well conceived, isn't it, actually? It's very well conceived. I like the way that they've decided to avoid all these horrific joins that you get, you know, and A-10 is quite a sort of almost an old school design of aircraft in terms of its shape. Straight wing, you know. There's so many areas where you can have problems putting that together. That looks absolutely stellar, to be honest. Just the fine detailing is absolutely amazing. So far so good. So the plastic, maximum points there. Don't get ahead of ourselves. Let's look at the next one. Here we've got the top wing and all the big control surfaces. So okay, the top wing's a little bit simpler and it's actually quite a lot smoother looking as well. But you've still got some very nice fine detail. And again, you can see how the wing tip scallops down at the end. And then we've got our the nacelles there for the undercarriage main gear. And of course there's a position there at the end where that arrangement goes for the split ailerons, so as the air brakes. Then over here we've got all the vertical and horizontal stabilisers and elevators, which look gorgeously. Look at that, again you can feel all the rivets there. There's a wonderful feel to it, really looks pretty scale-like as well to me, about right to the scale. Really nice. Here we've got that insert for the top spine we talked about to avoid the seam, which looks great. If it just all comes down to whether it's a good fit, I suppose, really. If it's a nice tight fit, then that will really, you know, give you a very professional look straight away, and you won't have any horrible seams to take care of. There we've got our rudders. Is it a rudder? Yeah, I think so. Rudders, I think, there. That's very nice. Is that rudder or is it elevator? Not convinced. I think it's elevator actually. It's the elevators. Sorry, not rudders. Those two. Yeah, elevator. Okay. Nice. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. So far so good. It's looking great, isn't it? I quite like the plastic. It actually reminds me of the new Airfix plastic, that sort of dark grey. Let's have a look at it. Now we've got the actual fuselage. Oh, it's lovely. It's lovely. Ooh, yes. Have a look at this. Hey, what have we here? You've got absolutely fantastic riveting detail. See that? That is absolutely top notch. It really is. It's gorgeous. And as you come forward, actually that's the position where the engines go in. I'm surprised they didn't do the same as Academy, but I think they obviously felt that it wouldn't have been quite in the right position, or maybe the panel line's not pronounced enough to make it, you know, it could look a bit out of scale, a bit wrong if they had a great big sort of drop-in panel line. They obviously felt they couldn't really do that in the way they can in that top section, where it's more obvious where that drop-in section goes there. But look at the detail as we move forward. You've got this beautiful, these hatches, and this is well, it's actually an avionics bay here, but that's obviously it's not going to show anything, I guess. But this is the ladder access hatch. But you've got some very, very fine detail there. That's really, really nice. Other side, same basically. I just love the riveting, it's lovely. It's, yeah, really consistent, scale-like, looks like it's in the right places. Absolutely smashing. Really, really premium moulding. Yeah. And then underneath, you've got you have this thing on the A10 where I forgot to point that out, that the undercarriage, the nose gear, is to one side. It's to the right, to the starboard side, because of the cannon. The cannon's in the middle, and the two things weigh, you know, counterbalance each other, of course. So they put the cannon, which is super heavy, down the centre, and then the relatively light undercarriage just to its right. Lovely. Okay, that's that. Moving on, we have got big one here. Just bear with me 1 second, and we've got all the engine covers and cowls. The armour plating covers the engines now. Look at this. We've got all the little the reinforced panels, the fish bed panels. Fish bed? Fish? What do they call them? Fish tail? These reinforced panels that you get for extra strength. So that's the engine outer armour plate cowling, and then this is on the other side. This is on the inner side, where I don't think it has the armour plating quite the same, because it's unlikely to get hit there, obviously, not directly anyway. Then we've got the intake rings, which are really, those are really, really nice, I've got to say. Now a lot of people, of course, have been going out with the other kits on the market and buying aftermarket engines, because people have complained about the intake, this dimension here, being a bit too shallow, and it seems that there's one or two issues with that Academy even has not perhaps quite got it right. Not quite as right as they seem to have got it here. Now here, that's your gear bay for the nose gear. Isn't that nice? That's really, really impressive. All the hydraulics and the wiring. And then we've got a couple of these are the split ailerons, like air brakes. And then we've actually got the cockpit tub for the pilot itself, which is pretty nice. And then we've got the ejection seats, which again look really, really, to be honest, they look better in the flesh than they looked in the instructions. Actually, they look nicer. So I don't think you need aftermarket for that, will you? And then you've got this little shroud that's talked about in the canopy, that is like armour plating shroud, just to protect the rear of the pilot behind the ejector seat. A bit more armour plating wrapping around him. And then you've got the main ejector seat itself. Quite detailed, isn't it? You see it's got the belts on it and everything. It's quite nice. And then the breaker bars that go through the canopy shield. It's lovely. Yes, like that. Like that's a lot. And then over on this side you've got the other section. I think one's the top, one's the bottom. I think this is the bottom section. No, it's the other way around, isn't it? That's the top section, sorry, and the one that's got the armour plate, that's the bottom. Very, very cool. Excellent. That's that sprue. Nice one. And then we have got, and this is where okay, so we've got two of these, so I'll just take one out. Now then, this is where we get to the what I know caused controversy for somebody else, and I don't know who it was, so I've got no axe to grind here. I have no idea which modeller did a review, but I'm told that one of the modelers did a review and said that the weight on wheels was grossly over exaggerated, and I can see why he'd think that, because actually your weight on wheels is the top one, and that lower one is if you have the wheels retracted. Just a little bit too too similar, isn't it, in a way that people could easily get misled, and because they don't tell you, it's not explained properly. But look at the blades, look at the engine intake blades, look at these. Now that's something special. That really does push the Academy. I remember being a little bit disappointed with the Academy blades, saying that they were a little bit filled in. Partly they weren't, and partly they were on the same, you know, on the opposite side. They started to fill in with a bit of flash, but look at that. That has been done very, very beautifully. Easily the best A-10 engine I think we've seen, isn't it? And here you've got all the other parts. So you've got the actual main compressor blades there, and then you've got, I think this is at the rear, you've got, again, look at the detail here. Look at that. It's nicely done, isn't it? It's very, very nicely done. I can't see any flash or fill in there at all. Got the light behind it and it's absolutely bob on. So you've got that, then you've got the other components of the engine, the main jet engine there, and this is kind of the internal outer shell, outer cowling, before you put it within that cocoon of armour plating. So this is the actual engine's outer shell, outer casing, and then over here we've got our wheels and the brakes. You see the brakes there actually here inside the hub. That's on the inside of the wheel, that's the outside obviously. And then you've got that, those little intakes, very, very beautifully sort of crafted they are. These are the ones that go on the back of the nacelles for the undercarriage. That is a beautiful sprue, so just be wary of this. That has got nothing to do with weight on wheels, that is just to make it sink in and give better clearance. And I think you can argue, well, why did they do that? Because it is a bit confusing. You know, you can see that's the correct weight on wheels, and that's the retracted version. I think it could have been better explained. I think that's the reason it's got people a bit upset and a bit confused. I think that they should have just been clearer with their data again. It all comes down to the same thing, doesn't it, really? But it's very, very beautiful. I don't think we've seen a better engine than that on an A-10. So, then what we've got the back of the engines here. I think there might be two of these. Got a feeling? Or is there only one? No, there's only one. There we go. Ah, I'm wrong. It's actually the tail cone. That's the tail cone there. Which is beautifully done again. Very, very nice. Tail cone. Again, all the riveting. Feel the rivets? Feel, never mind the size, feel the quality, yeah. But it's beautifully figured, and you know, to the eye it looks absolutely perfect. Actually, it's got a slight scratch on it there, but that's because it's rubbed slightly. Is that where it's come out of the mould? I'm not sure if you'll see that better than me, actually. But that's a beautifully figured piece. And then these two are just the back of the engines, basically. The outer, the tailpipe, so to speak, of the engines. And again, great detail with the riveting, rivets all around it. You can really feel those rivets, fantastic. So that is that one. I'm liking that, I think it's very, very nice actually. Plastic's absolutely bob on, really superb. So just up their instruction quality and add a bit more information. They'd have it licked, these guys. Over here we've got the weight, basically the nose weight. I don't know what it's made of, it looks like steel to me. I thought it would be lead. Definitely isn't, it's just a chunk of steel. That's a chunk of Chinese steel. Big lump of it. So it's about 1 inch by 3/4 of an inch square. But yes, it's quite weighty. What did they say it was? 74 grams, was it? I can't remember now. But yeah, that's a proper ingot Chinese steel. Yeah, very useful to have it though, in fairness. You know, you do need to have the right weight, and it saves you having to. You don't want to be trial and erroring with nose weight on, you know, on a tricycle undercarriage jet. You want to know what the weight is and know that it's going to be right first time. So that is that one. Back in its little box. Then we have got a couple more. We'll go to the weapons last. Then we've got our gear, and you know, I've got to say that Great Wall Hobby do these parts very, very well, and I'm now seeing why my benefactor wanted me to have this, despite the quality being very, very high. Why he wanted me to have this resin alternative muzzle for the GAU-8 cannon, because if you look very carefully, here it comes. Yeah, if you look very carefully, there's the slide moulded this. Slide moulded it, but even with the slide moulding, can you see it? This is the actual muzzle here of the GA8 cannon. Even with the slide moulding, it's a bit plain. It's not really got a lot going for it in terms of detail, and you know, the actual where it comes out of the aircraft, the shroud underneath. Again, you'll see in a second. Let me just. Never mind in a second, let's do it now. Let's put them side by side and you can see exactly what we're talking about here. Just going to try to, bear with me, I'm just going to try to remove our little aftermarket piece, because this is very, very pertinent to what we're talking about. So let's just compare the two. Here is our aftermarket resin version. Try and get as close as I can for this. Now, we know that resin never comes up too well on the camera. Now if we compare that with that, put them side by side, it's a shame that they've gone on. Just a minute, let me just configure this in a way that makes the camera see it better. There we go. So when we put them side by side like that, I think you can see pretty clearly that it's night and day, isn't it? There is so much more depth and detail on this, especially the hollowness where you can see the barrels at that muzzle, where you've got the cooling jacket around the actual barrels coming to the final muzzle there, and you can see within the actual barrels themselves. You can't see that on the plastic version on the left. You just can't. They are non-comparable, so and it's not bad, but it's just not the same. It's just not the same. Trying to get the angle better so we can see it better. Here we go, let's do it that way. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. Can we see it now? Compare those two pieces at the bottom. You know, it's just chalk and cheese, isn't it, really? So that's why I've been gifted this, very kindly gifted this beautiful muzzle for the GAU-8 Avenger cannon. But we'll carry on with looking at the plastic now. We've got all the parts here of the undercarriage, and we've also got some of these internal panels with all the hydraulics in it, in the gear bay. You've got the door there for the actual front nose leg, and you've got the nose wheel. It's weight on wheel for the nose gear. Which looks quite nice. And we've got the nose wheel itself here, outer and inner. And then we've got the main gear doors, which are here. Gear doors there and there. As you can see. And then over here we've got the main gear legs. And just look at the detail here. Some of these parts are tiny, tiny parts, and they've got a lot of detail on them. and they are not flashy at all. And there's no short shot. Beautiful sort of internal panelling there. You can see where the actual the wheel goes up against the tyre, goes up against the door. It's shut. Beautiful, very nice sprue that. Very nice sprue indeed. So that's that one. So we can see straight away why I've been kindly given that rather impressive, proper quality with the alternative, because you can just see the hollows, can't you, where the barrels are inside the actual jacket. That is not possible with the, even with slide moulding, it's just not really possible with injection moulding. So, and again, you've got the brilliant, again there's rivets there on the shroud, the outer shroud. Absolutely brilliant, that is. Very nice piece. So that one, just for those of you that want to know, this one comes from Ask Distribution, and it's the 1/48 A-10 GAU Cannon head with cover. Head, they mean muzzle. And it's 3D printed, of course. There is your product number if you want to get one of those. Also, by the way, as we're on the talk about Ask, he also very kindly got me a lovely mask set as well, which is pretty crucial on this because it's got quite a lot of glass work. And it looks quite complex, that mask set actually. There's quite a lot of it. What is it, 24 pieces? 24 pieces, yes, here we go. Shows them all on the back. Very nice. Anyway, back to the parts. We then have these various, let's bring you back a second. We've got the various covers. A lot of these little panels, like the drop-in panel I mentioned that goes behind the cockpit there. Another one that drops in to avoid a seam. One underneath the nose here. And you've got very, very nice instrument panel there. Look at that. That is nice. Cool. And then of course we've got the this part of the nacelles for the undercarriage, and then we've got one of the very detailed pylons. Look at that. The engraving on the pylon, that's incredible. And then we've got the tail cone. Is that tail cone? No, sorry, it's the cone off the back of the nacelle. It is, isn't it? It's not the. There's only one of these though. That must be the nose cone then. It must be the nose cap of the nose cone. And then again, some very small parts with all these aerials and antennas. Very, very nice. Fantastic on that lower nose section. Look, isn't that nice? Again, such detail, you know. Brilliant. So that's that one, which is again flawless. Flawless. And there we've got the I can't remember what they call the pod there. Which one was it? There's so many different pods, but it's the one that's like the lightning pod that has the swivelling head, very similar to the one that the RAF uses, and we call it the lightning pod. There's that one, and then there is this is basically the lower cover for the nacelle where the undercarriage goes. Two of those, opposite handed, of course. That's nice. Isn't it nice? Very, very good. That goes in there. Then, last amongst the actual aircraft parts, I think it is, we've just got all the very fine parts, including things like pipes, connectors, there's some sway braces there, some aerials, antennas. You've got parts of the stowage ladder, I think that is, here. Is that the pitot? That's the pitot, I beg your pardon. And just a lot of very fine stuff going on here. Very, very beautiful parts. You've even got sort of hydraulic hose here, like hydraulic piping. All sorts of actuators that go in the gear, actuator arms, and then over here, right at the bottom, near my finger, that's the mirrors that go in the canopy. See that? That's the actual canopy mirrors. Would you believe? Oh, rear view mirrors, incredible. So you need the old Molotov pen on those, don't you? I think so. Fantastic. Right, that is that one. So that's pretty much the aircraft parts done. Then we have got two of these, and this is basically, these are basically parts of the Sidewinder. Yeah, it's the Sidewinder 9 Lima parts here. Just, again, presented in a rather unusual way. Now, I need to talk about this now. I need to just have an interjection here and say something that slightly disappoints me with this kit, and apart from the instructions, it's probably the only thing. Lack of clarity. Great Wall Hobby, you know, that looks very nice to me, but they've gone back to very conventional rockets and bombs and stores, etc. Whereas before they had a much more elegant solution. Let me show it to you. I have here, from a kit that was also very kindly given to me as a gift, the SU-35S Flanker. But look at this. This is the way that, until recently, until 2023, Great Wall Hobby were doing this. And they were slide moulding the entire finished missile, and tanks and stores, etc. Example, they would slide mould the whole thing, usually in one piece. In this case it's actually two, but just check this out, and I'm baffled by why they've changed and gone away from this. Now, they moved away from it when they did the Tomcat and produced the Phoenix missile, which I mentioned before, with over a dozen parts, I think it had, all different fins. But look at this, this is one part and just one at the back with the drag fins. And that's all slide moulded in one. That's one example. Second, air-to-air missile, look at this one. This is completely 100% whole and complete. Finished missile, slide moulded in a single piece with absolutely beautiful details on it. It's just got a little bit of sprue there, you just remove that bit there. But other than that, can you see how well they did this? Now, why on earth have they gone away from this design, I wonder? Don't quite get it, to be honest. Those are beautiful. And they, when they came out, around about 2019, 2020, people were, it was just jaw-dropping, you know. People were like, whoa, this is the future. And, you know, people were saying, well, you know, at the end of the day, Tamiya are not doing that, are they? Tamiya aren't doing it at all. Absolutely fantastic. Producing a quality and a precision in those weapons that we've never seen before. Even the packaging was beautiful. Look at the way they've done that. It comes in a pre-formed case, protective case almost, with all your bombs, all your missiles, sorry, together, ready, done, and it saves you hours and hours and hours. Now, I was discussing this with the person who kindly gave me this, both kits actually. So it shows I've got no extra ground because he gave me both of them, so I can be objective here. But it's a step backwards, isn't it? Now you can say, as he was pointing out, so you can't criticise them against their competitors. You can't really knock them a point off for that, because if you think about it, nobody else has got it either. But and he's right. Yeah, it's a fair comment. But why have they changed? That they must be cost driven to go from that to doing all this palaver again. You know, we've got more here. Let's get the other one out. That's actually another. It's just gone back to being the same as everybody else's. They've lost their USP, the thing that made Great Wall Hobby's product so impressive and really elevated it above its competitors. really gave it proper edge in the market. I mean, they're still beautiful, the moulding's nice, but you've got to stick them together and you've got to get seam lined and you've got to... And that was all eliminated, you know, all this faffing around adding fins and, you know, various front, back, fins in the middle, blah blah. The need for that was all removed. We've got here, by the way, this is the one with all the pylons on it and the sway braces. Lots of sway braces, and they're very different ones as well. They're all very specific, so you've got to make sure you get the right one. But yeah, those are very nice, nothing wrong with it, but it's not as special as it used to be, is what I'm saying. Great Wall Hobby, when they made this change, first of all on the Tomcat, the F14B, people were all like, what, is this a one-off, what's going on? Well, obviously it's not a one-off, that seems to be the direction they're now going in. And we were speculating, my relative and I were speculating about this and saying, I wonder if this is because they're subcontracting it. You know, you got loads and loads of little fins for your sidewinders and it's just the same as everybody else's. It's okay, but it's not as good as they were. It's not as good as they were, so I don't know, I feel they ought to lose a quarter of a point for it, because it is at the end of the day a retrograde step by this company, and you know, we'd got to expect, especially at this price though. Remember what I said about the price? It's retailing at about around about the £80–85 mark, this, and the initial retail price I think was £100. So it's a lot of money, you know, you're not getting something as special as that, are you? Now, also by the way, there's a whole box here which I've missed, I just realised. What's in the box? Clear parts. Let's have a look at the clear parts. Okay, well they've done this well. And is there there's a staple, okay. Yeah, I think we'll leave that till the end because I have a horrible thing with clear parts where I seem to be jinxing every clear part I touch. I end up being upset by it. It gets disappointing. We've had it with Airfix, we've had it with Mini Art. Now these are the bombs that I said, and I'm no expert in this area, but somebody had said that they weren't quite right. GWH 31s I think it is, this one. Somebody claimed that they weren't quite right. Now I don't know whether that's true or not. But here they are. But again, they're very nice, but you've now got to stick two halves together and there's not much in the way of locating pins. Well, they have got them down the centre, but I hope they're accurate. And all that faff, you know, when you had this design over here, that's a complete missile. The job is done. You just got to snip it off that sprue, clean it up, and that's it. You've got completed missiles. Now we've gone back to the 1990s sort of technology, haven't we? It's not back to the future, it's definitely back to the past. So that is disappointing. I'm not disappointed with the kit, and especially the person who gave it as a gift. Please don't misunderstand. I'm disappointed with the manufacturer that they've done this now on a couple of kits. So it's obviously the way that they're going, and that is annoying. Why? You know, did you not realise that it made you special? Great Wall Hobby have made a blunder here. I think they need to go back to what they were doing with those slide moulded missiles. Because they were superior to the competition. Now they're no different to anybody else. Here's the tanks. Big old things, aren't they? They're really huge tanks, those are. Good gracious. Massive, aren't they? What's that then? Is that 2,000 gallons? I didn't read it properly in the instructions, but they are big. But again, you know, you've got to glue them together and you've got to hope that it's a good fit, and it's critical with a big tank like that. You could be faffing around if it's not a great fit, doing a lot of cleaning up and possibly even filling, you know, which we don't want. Not when you had, again, say it again, not when you had things like that and the tanks were included. All in one piece, you know, done. I mean, don't get me wrong, we don't want it assembled for us, nobody's saying that, but it was the quality. It gave you a better quality product. Here we've got the NA-AAQ33s, and this is the one I think that replaced the pave penny. Why it doesn't have that little stanchion on the lower nose anymore that used to hang down. And then over here we've got the other one, ANQ-ALQ184. This is the jamming pod. So there we go. So that's them two. Then we've just got two left 2 left and the clear parts. And then we are done. So this is the ALQ131. Not too sure what that is actually in terms of its function. Some Black Ops stuff though, you know. It's probably a SAM jamming pod or something along those lines. And then we've got our Maverick. Now this is the missile, the air to ground missile, the AGM-65, and yeah, they're nice, you know. They're very nicely done. That tailpipe, it's quite nicely moulded, isn't it? See that? Cool. Yeah, it's cool. But I say it's like the Phoenix that they did on the Tomcat. That's the same. They've gone on the Phoenix. I believe that there was a lot more parts, and people were quite a little bit cross about it because they all thought they were going to be getting this nice new Great Wall Hobby unique set of weapons. It's not really what they got. Here's your fairly traditional snake eye bombs. I think they are the GWH. No, not snake eye, are they? Snake eye are the retarding ones, aren't they? That have the fins that pop out. These are later than snake eye. Yeah, and again some fins to glue on. You know, they're beautifully formed. There's nothing wrong with the moulding. It's absolutely gorgeous, really. Just a bit disappointed that they couldn't continue doing what they were doing before, because it made Great Wall Hobby a bit of an event almost. So there we have it. That is the main grey plastic. It just remains for me to show you the clear parts. It always makes me very wincy at the end. Anybody that's been following my channel in the last 12 months will know that this is where it usually all goes horribly wrong. Okay, another staple. Staples and clear parts do not mix. Okay, here we go. So what have we got? We have a centerline seam. Yeah, we do have a seam down the centre line. Don't think is on the real aircraft, so that'll have to be taken care of. It's good that they've got this protector on it. That's another hallmark of their recent design philosophy at Great Wall Hobby. But we have got this centerline seam. I don't know if you can just make that out. Can you see it? Yeah, you can see it, I think, there. Just there it is. But it's beautifully clear. It's superior. I mean, the distortion, there's a little bit of distortion actually on the... There's a little bit of dust on it, a bit of cardboard. There's a little bit of distortion on the windscreen. On the starboard side, this side, don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, but there seems distortion on this side and there's not really any distortion on the other side. So that could be a cooling issue or something. It's quite hard for the camera to pick that up, in fairness. Over on this side it's alright. Looks fine to me. But those are nice clear parts, in fairness. Very, very nice. And they've protected them cleverly with this these raised outer sprue arms, sort of protector arms, and the canopy has got that protector bar over the top. That's very, very good. And it's got your there's a laser head-up display there, and you've got your gun sights here as well. Whoops, gun sights. And several little windows and things. But you know, the windscreen looks pretty good, and you've got a section around the windscreen, a bit like you've got with the Tamiya Tomcats and things, so that it doesn't butt right up to the plastic. You've got an additional part that actually will glue up to the grey plastic, and then if there's any issues with running of the glue, it won't get on the actual windscreen area itself, because it's got like a buffer zone, hasn't it? So it's very good all round here, yeah. This buffer zone extra to the canopy itself, to the windscreen itself. That's very, very good. And I think it's the same at the back. I think it is. I think this is the armour plated area. On the inside it will be. So they've done that very well, in fairness. They've done that very well. There's a little tiny bit of distortion, but it's not a problem at all. It's not bad enough for me to go grumbling about it like I did with Airfix on the Spitfire, or indeed on the Mini Art Thunderbolt, which did suffer from, I thought, a lot of it. Too much distortion on that one. No, that's nice. That was the World War II P47 I'm talking about, not this one. They have done that very, very nicely, in fairness. Anything else in there? No. So they put it in a separate box, which I do like. All about protect the president, yeah? Protect the clear parts, the most important piece. I like that. So, where are we at with it then? Now, as I've said at the beginning, I was given this as my birthday present, so of course it's 10 out of 10. No, I can't be quite that unobjective. The plastic is absolutely stunning there. I think there's some clever design ideas. All these sections that they've gone for that are going to drop in to avoid a seam, and they're dropping in on a natural panel line. That's clever thinking. That's clever thinking. So why they had to move away from this though, I don't know. This is obviously a policy for all their products. So we're not going to punish this because of that. I just make the point that for those of you that have never seen those, it's pretty remarkable. And you think, well, why have they changed something that was so good, market leading quality, and gone to something that is good but not as good? Let's not beat about the bush. It's not as good. So there we have it. Another thing, by the way, just before I forget, I've got the flanker, some parts of the flanker over here. Just for your interest, those of you that have not seen it. Again, look at the packaging here. Great Wall Hobby again. Look at the sort of way that they thought it through with the flanker to protect this in transit. So it's like in a sandwich bag within it. It's got this sandwich around it to protect it from getting crushed. They've gone and put this little piece of foam over the top. They've really thought about it, yeah. And you just feel that they are cheapening that a little bit now, moving forward with the latest releases. Anyway, I'm not going to bitch on that. Ignoring it's a gift though, I have to completely put that aside. The only real criticism, I mean, things that it's clearly to me, I'll say the criticism first. The criticism is those instructions and this confusion they seem to have got confused about this painted panel underneath, which is actually there to mimic the cockpit shape, and they seem to have got utterly confused by that. I don't think they've studied the photos properly, or maybe they've seen a bad photo. And they seem to have made it, they've got confused and they're now misleading the model. And this is what happens when the research isn't done properly. You know, we talked previously about things like Trumpeter and their F-35, the F-35B, was it the B? I think it was the B, wasn't it? In the 32nd scale, where they went and put rivets on it. Because they hadn't done the research properly. And it happens a lot with the Chinese companies, in fairness. Here I think they've just got confused, but now they mislead the modelling community, because now it definitely looks in that paperwork and the call-outs as though they want you to, you know, to sort of do a bit of airbrushing from the back of the gun like it's gun exhaust, and it's not. That's not what it is. The second, so that's something that's misleading, very misleading to the modeller. I'm glad I was told about it because I wouldn't have known. And the second thing, of course, is this business with the wheels, where they've come up with quite a clever solution to make sure the wheels sit in cleanly and don't foul or protrude too much. But they haven't explained it, and they've gone and chopped the wheel off and made everybody think that it's a very badly conceived weight-on wheel, which it isn't. It isn't. It's the retracted version. But they haven't explained it, and this is all about communication and instructions. So I think in the final summary, I should also say where it excels. Those engines are the nicest Thunderbolt engines you'll see anywhere. That's as good as Resin. It's amazing. Those blades were beautiful. Blades are fantastic. The gun is a bit disappointing, but of course I haven't got that problem because my very generous relative has included that fantastic resin set, so that cures the problem. And it's not that great, unlike was it the Hobby Boss one where you could remove the gun, I think. Wasn't that the one where you could have it out displayed separately? Well, they haven't really maxed out on the gun, but they have on the engines. The engines look absolutely stunning. So nothing's perfect in this world, but it's clearly, I think it is head and shoulders above the other two that are in the market. And it needed to be because it's more expensive. It's a wonderful present. Thank you very much. That was a very great birthday I've just had, so I'm very pleased with myself now. And I've got to see it, and I think it's, yeah, there's one or two little glitches in there, but it's still one of the best kits that's come out this year. I think it's definitely heading towards the top 10 in my mind for the ones I've seen. Easily in the top 10. A definite contender for kit of the year. But others may arrive, and this is others may arrive right at the last minute. That's what usually happens. It certainly happened last year, and in fact, it happened to me. Yeah, last year and the year before. They came right at the end of the year. So I think it's the nicest Thunderbolt kit you can buy, bar none. I would just use this video as a guide. You've now heard the pitfalls and the issues and the things to watch out for. Don't be misled. But putting that aside, I just want Great Wall Hobby to up their game in terms of their instructions. We know what the problem is. Bad communication. It's not clear. You know, the thing with the split ailerons which act as landing air brakes, that wasn't very well explained either. You just need, you know, some descriptive data on there. That's what they need to do. So overall, I think I'm going to give it, I want to give it 9.75, but there were a couple of little tiny issues, but I have to give a rating based on the price. No, what would I know? I didn't pay for it. But the market retail price and the fact that it is the most expensive one. As I said, you can if you wanted to buy an Academy and a Hobby Boss for the price of one of these. I think 9.5 out of 10 is where I'm at. I think that's a very fair score. Ignoring how I obtained it, it's a beautiful kit though. The plastic, the detail with the rivets, you know, they've really gone to town. They've got that absolutely bob on. In fact, I'd even go as far as to say I think the plastic detail is better than the artwork in some respects. I think the artwork's a little bit underplayed, if anything, even though it's a very pretty box art, and it comes with that artwork you can frame if you wish. Although, as I said, it wasn't quite as nicely printed as it is on the front. 9.5 out of 10, Great Wall Hobby. Well done. I would just say to them as a company though, go back to producing your weapons like they used to be. Yeah, go back to doing your packaging like it used to be, because this could have been better packed, I think, compared to the flanker. Just smacks of a little bit of corner cutting or cost cutting perhaps, but I think it's a very, very beautiful kit, and I would not hesitate to recommend it to you. Just those engines, you know, it's just, and the way when you put a wash on that, once you've painted it up, and it's gonna just pop with all that detail. Absolutely gorgeous, really. So, barring a few minor, relatively small issues, it's an absolute stunner. Absolute stunner. So, well done, Great Wall Hobby. 9.5 out of 10 from me. Hope you'll give me 10 out of 10 with a thumbs up, a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you are a subscriber, don't forget to ding the notification bell and make sure that you have selected the all option, because otherwise you'll get sent very few of my items, because they seem to like to go off and only choose, you know, it overthinks everything, and if you enjoy my content, you enjoy my content. So just click all, and then if you don't want to watch a particular one, perhaps today you might not be an aircraft fan, that's fine. But you make the decision, don't let them make it for you, because you just miss out. And then people often come on the live show and it's nearly over and they say, I didn't get a notification, I think this is what's happening. Anyway, thank you all very much for your support. Don't forget, if you haven't seen it already, you really should go and see How Stupid Is My Stash 2, The Reckoning, because a lot of people seem to have enjoyed that already. And it's only been out for 48 hours or so. People seem to have had a lot of fun watching that, and I can see it's brought a few smiles, and we all need cheering up from time to time, and it will provoke some thoughts for you as well, so I think you'll enjoy watching it. Anyway, in the meantime, till next time, thank you very much for watching. I'm off now to do some, the next video you'll see from me, probably going to be at least a week, I think, maybe 10 days, because I want to get some more progress on the Mosquito, and then we'll do an update video, which I think you'll find very interesting. Till next time then, thanks for all your time, thanks for watching, stay well, stay safe, thanks a lot, until next time, bye for now.